night as if it was going to be Kwame Raoul and Erica Harold. So we may have to have a whole new analysis on it because, again, do you happen to know where that 15% is out? If it's downstate, or
I don't know.
Do you think all of Chicago and Cook counties in?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay, so that would be the strongest counties that Raoul Kwame would be in, with the exception I suppose, of like Madison County and downstate. So. At the Sun-Times, I want to thank all our experts who joined us, all the wonderful, hard-working Chicago Sun-Times reporter. Now, before I go, we may go, but this website never stops working. So for all the election results, for charts, analysis, the most up-to-date news, will you please go to suntimes.com? Please. Have I been sitting here all night that you don't know that when we leave, when I go, you're supposed to go straight to suntimes.com. Would you do that? And on Twitter, you can always find us, Sun-Times Live. That's our hashtag. Anyway, hold on. See, I thought I'm going, but we have this last news flash, and we're leaving on news. Jeannie Ives conceded, so my last thought, indeed, the battle of the billionaires. More to come, as we say in the news business. Thank you, and from Chicago's West Loop.
I'm Chris Kennedy.
My name is J.B. Pritzker.
My name is Jeannie Ives.
To unseat this man.
I'm Bruce Rauner, governor of the great state of Illinois.
Rauner
sharing this time together in a moment of solidarity to celebrate our hard work. We knocked on thousands of doors. We spoke with thousands of people about our beautiful vision, about our beautiful leader, Bernie Sanders, but more importantly, to build the movement that is needed to establish justice in this land, to fight for economic justice, to fight for racial justice, to fight for environmental justice, and to fight for democracy. And that's what we're here to celebrate. We will go through the elections that are happening right now and the results. We also have a beautiful program of speakers. We're going to have speakers from the Chicago Sunrise Movement, from the 10th Ward IPO. We'll have a musical program, and then we'll be joined by some of our elected comrades, as well as one of our candidates, Anthony Clark. And then we'll wrap up the evening with some words from Marianela, who is a leader with Chicago DSA, but also sits on the national DSA team. And then we'll close the stream, and we'll all go back to our lives. But before I kick it off to the next person, I want to share some news. As a leader with Chicago DSA, I am very proud to report that tonight I just won my first election. I am officially the 35th Ward Democratic Committeeman, and I ran on a platform to transform the Democratic Party, to make sure that we have a party that is accountable and that represents the needs and demands of working people and our movements. This isn't a sellout opportunity. This isn't me selling my power and my abilities to the Democratic Party. This is me seizing this position up, within the Democratic Party to use for our movements, to use for socialism, and to continue pushing the conversation to the left. I will never bow down to the Democratic Party. I will always swear my allegiance to the working class of our communities and of working people across the world. So I want to relay that message to you, comrades. This isn't just a celebratory event for me, although I am very happy and I'm very proud. But this is a victory for all of us tonight, because this is representative of what it means to build grassroots power, to build grassroots organization, and to fight for working people. So congratulations to all of us. This is a really important time, right? We see a Democratic Party that is putting the interests of corporations before the actual demands of working people. We see a Democratic Party that is bending over backwards for a centrist candidate like Joe Biden, while we are seeing exit polls across the country of working people who are making demands or who are in favor of Medicare for All or Green New Deal or canceling medical and student loan debt. So we are already winning this election by winning, the conversation, by winning the issues. And so we have to make sure that we're always focused on building a working class movement, a mass movement of millions of people, so that we can make these demands true. Because no matter who is our president or who is our ally or who is against us, we still need to build that movement. That is our locomotive for change. And that's what's going to make all these things possible. So I'm very excited. This moment of crisis right now, again, is bringing a lot of challenges to us. But I think this is an opportunity for us to raise class consciousness, to push people, to build solidarity, and to expand our movement even greater than before. 4 years ago, when Trump was elected, a lot of people were pushed into the movement. A lot of people were agitated. This is another moment where a lot of people are going to be pushed into very uncomfortable positions. But this is an opportunity for our movement to grow and to bring people in and to make people feel welcomed and to feel loved, so that we can fight for the things that we deserve. So that's enough about my take on things right now. I would like to introduce Shane Patel, who is an action team coordinator with the Chicago Sunrise Movement. And Shane's going to be talking to us a little bit about what's going on with the coronavirus and about one of their main projects, which is the Green New Deal. So Shane, take it away. Shane, are you with us? Shane muted himself accidentally. Let's see.
Okay, I got it. I'm unmuted. Thank you so much, Anthony, for the introduction and bearing with me through that little technical glitch. Like Anthony said, I'm Shane. I'm one of the action team coordinators with Sunrise Chicago. Sunrise is a movement of young people working to fight the climate crisis and create millions of good jobs in the process. Our hub's been around in Chicago for just over a year, and I'm already just so proud of the work we've been doing. One of the main reasons I joined Sunrise was just feeling this total frustration with the lack of action and urgency with our leadership in the face of just the scientific consensus that was telling us that climate change would lead to cascading crises that most painfully of all would hurt the hardest those who have done the least to cause it. We know that all of the issues are due to the oil and gas industry and the politicians they employ, and yet all of the pain is going to hit working people. And above all, we're fighting for a Green New Deal because we know that the climate crisis demands that we separate the ability to live a dignified, good life with economic and social power, with the ability to have economic and social power. And living through the coronavirus has just been so surreal because it feels like all of our worst fears about what our leaders have intended for us have come true. Our leaders have had 2 months to prepare for this crisis, and instead of acting decisively with the best interest of people in mind, we've wasted time. We just let the media talk about hoaxes instead of focusing on how our lives would be affected. Today might be the darkest day of this crisis so far, where we just invited catastrophe by holding these critical elections that all of our coalition partners have been working so hard on without even knowing how prevalent the coronavirus is in our community, but with the knowledge that it would greatly affect which polling places were open and functioning, with the knowledge that we were disenfranchising people of color, poor and working communities the hardest, in a way that just feels exactly like how we think of the climate crisis. Throughout our remote GeoTV operations this weekend, we just heard from countless people who made the call to prioritize our public health by not showing up on election day. And in times of crisis, we see where our leaders' priorities are the most clearly. Before thinking about working people and how we're going to make our ends meet, and making sure we feel secure and not showing up to work, and making sure all of our communities have equitable access to testing, their first step was to bail out the fossil fuel companies who honestly who were part of the cause of the economic collapse that occurred before coronavirus really took full swing. And these are the very companies that are causing the climate crisis as well. But it's also in times of crisis that just show us how powerful our people are and how necessary the work we're doing is. Like I said, our hub's been existing for a year, and in November we kicked off our endorsement process in earnest. And I'm just so proud of the work our hub's done, our partners in the Solidarity for Bernie Coalition has done, just lining up behind Green New Deal champions up and down the ballot. It's due to the quick thinking, selflessness, and resourcefulness of people in this coalition in our Sunrise Chicago hub that I've felt any sense of security in these times as we've watched our leaders fail. So I've been working in climate justice spaces for 7 years, and I've felt lonely in so many of those days, where the powerful would marginalize us by saying we were well-intentioned but unreasonable in our demands, even though we knew these were the demands we needed to win to have any sort of dignified, equitable future. But to steal a line from Bernie, I don't feel lonely anymore, because we're not just fighting for Bernie. We have Green New Deal champions like Robert Emmons Jr., Marie Newman, Robert Peters in the state Senate, Rachel Ventura, champions like Kina Collins and Anthony Clark, two super strong candidates that it broke our hearts not to be able to endorse, who just recognize that a deep commitment to our people and our movements is the only way we get the transformational change we need to survive. And yeah, what coronavirus and the current pandemic has shown me is that without our intervention as movements and as people, our leaders will waste time until it's too late. They've had us on that course for years, and I really hope this is the time we show up and we show them, like, as working people, we know what we need, and we're going to take it from them. So these are truly uncertain and weird times. And it's so hard to know how election results are going to go tonight, given we've just been disenfranchising people. But I can't help but feel that this is the closest we've been to winning the policies we've needed in this long fight. Our hub alone, throughout our endorsement process, knocked on over 5,000 doors. And in this last weekend alone, we made 4,000 calls with 111 shifts total across those 3 days. And what really, honestly, brings me the most hope is that I know those numbers are tiny compared to the work that we've been doing across the Solidarity for Bernie Coalition, from the Nurses Union, from SCIU and the IPOs and the Working Families and CDSA, of course. Together, honestly, we are a mass mobilization, and this is just the beginning. And honestly, I take solace in the understanding that it's the solidarity and determination of the people in our movements, the people watching this right now, that we've even gotten to this point. And I think it's why we're going to win. So thank you guys so much for the time. And I think I'm throwing it back to Anthony.
That's right. Thank you very much, Shane, for sharing all of that. Sunrise Movement is at the forefront of the climate movement here in the United States. You guys are doing amazing work, and I'm actually so excited. I mean, I'm excited because this is the decade of the Green New Deal. I completely agree. We have no other option. We have to fight for this tooth and nail, no matter who's our president. We need a Green New Deal. We must have a Green New Deal. That is the only way we can pull ourselves out of this global crisis. And I'm ready to fight alongside you and your movement. And you have our unrelenting solidarity. So with that, I also want to just quickly touch back with the elections. Right now, Joe Biden is leading in Illinois, of course, with 148,000 votes, 56% of the vote, and Bernie Sanders with an amazing 102,000 votes. This is amazing. This is 102,000 votes, not just for Bernie Sanders, but against a system that has neglected all of our communities for so long. That's 102,000 votes to get people out of cages. That is 102,000 votes for Medicare for all. That is 102,000 votes for a Green New Deal. That is 102,000 votes for justice. And those votes are going to keep climbing. And those are votes that we fought for. Those are votes out of solidarity. And people understand why, we need Bernie Sanders to lead us right now. Regardless of how these primaries go, we still need Bernie Sanders. So with that, I think we do have Julio on with us right now. And I see his little thingy right here. Julio is a leader with the 10th Ward IPO. I just want to confirm, Julio, are you with us?
Yes, I am right here. Can you hear me?
Well, yep, exactly. Yeah, we hear you. So I'm going to kick it off too. Tell us about what you guys are doing in the 10th Ward.
Absolutely. Give me 1 second. All right, can everyone see me? All right, so good evening, comrades. It is a pleasure. Today's been a long day, but I'm feeling really good. And just one thing that kind of the conversation that we've been having at UN10 about kind of moving forward with the election is that regardless if we win or lose, I think that this is a W for the movement. It's a win because we're getting working class families involved that may not ordinarily be involved in politics. I think that especially with the coronavirus, everyone knows what's at stake now, and we all know what's possible and what's not possible. I think for a long time, all of us have been told, that's not possible. How are you going to pay for that? Yet we see, the bailing out of several industries. But when are the working class families going to get bailed out? When are we going to live in a world where, the government doesn't have to bail you out because you can't afford to take 2 days or 2 weeks off of work or even 4 weeks off of work? This is kind of asinine, and I am really happy that I saw one thing that kind of I was floating around social media. Reality has endorsed Sanders, just because look at the situation of everything that we're seeing. So I think that moving forward, that we have to keep up this kind of positive energy, and it's awesome that this coalition was created because now, as each one of our grassroots, community rooted organizations get stronger and stronger, and we continue to grow our base, we're really optimistic at the meaningful and transformative change that we're going to bring to Chicago and beyond. And I think that even through these tough times, it's really important for all of us to band together, because I don't, no matter what the results are, I don't think that anyone should view this as a loss. I think we've all been working very hard, and just the creation of this coalition is a good example of kind of what we can do when we put our minds together. And in my opinion, we're only scratching the surface. So.
Excellent. Thank you, Julio. It's also really exciting as a leader with United Neighbors of the 35th Ward to share my solidarity with you across the city. I think, a lot of people don't know about the history or the power of the independent political organizations in Chicago. It's the kind of the backbone of a lot of independent power and working class power, a way for working class people to articulate local demands and push that all the way up. And I think what's going to be really exciting is, we just saw, 6 Democratic Socialists elected in the last municipal election, along with some other progressives. In this time, we should be identifying more leaders throughout our communities so that we can run them, over the next municipal election. And I know that 10th Ward IPO will do a lot of work to make sure that our ally Sue Garza is in office, but that also, we can create a pipeline of leaders, perhaps even yourself, right, who can run for office. So it's really exciting to know that 10th Ward IPO is in the fight, and that we're building, this amazing and beautiful Black and brown and white coalition across the city that's going to make sure we get Lori Lightfoot out next time. How about that? So just dropping some spicy comments, right? So let's see. So we're running a little bit behind on our schedule. So I would like to now kick it off we're going to kick it off to Vico to start our musical program. So Vico is a leader with the Northside Steering Committee with the Northside branch of Chicago DSA. She is a local artist, and she'll be introducing our musical guest for the evening. Vico, can you take it away? And also share a little bit about yourself.
Hey y'all, this is Vico. Thanks for that intro, Anthony. Like Anthony mentioned, I am a member of the Northside Steering Committee for DSA. I'm also a member of the Afro Socialists, Mi Gente, and I'm also an artist here in Chicago. I'm an illustrator, and I'm also a DIY event promoter. And something that's always been important to me is not having the world of art and the world of political activism exists separately. I have always been interested in bringing those worlds together because I feel like they don't always move forward without each other. Even in the Bernie campaign, I'm sure you all have noticed just a ton of art coming out. It's great. It's a very quick way to get a very positive message out. I feel like art, visual art, music, dance, theater are all ways to make our activism, our political message way more accessible to way more communities. So it's something that has always been important to me as a vehicle for communication and for moving people and bringing them into the movement. So yeah, this was super cool to have a few artists join us, musical artists who are also passionate about community. The first one that I want to introduce is Joslyn-Marie, who's a friend and a vocal coach by day. So they are an educator and working within the community as well. And they're a performer by night, of course. And one of the main messages that she always tries to get across is to just encourage people to live their lives with intention and with love. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Joslyn.
Hey loves, can you hear me? All good? Yeah? Woo-hoo. Awesome. All right. I dare to. I won't deny it, baby. I try to hide. Insecurities consume my head, but I'm beautiful, is what she said. And I know if I want this moment, you'll be standing there, calling me over. Your love, I'm searching for your love. Keep searching for your love. Stand up taller, feet on the ground. But don't get it twisted, baby, because I'm proud now. I see my magic floating around, and I smile because I know what I have found. How can we stop it? How can we be so true? Who's the victim? It's so easily diffused. Your love, I'm searching for your love. Keep searching for your love. Your searching for your love. Keep searching for your love. It's true. I'm searching for your love. Keep searching for your love. It's true. How can I say any other way? I'm searching for you. Keep searching for you. I'm searching for you. Keep searching and searching. I'm searching for your love. Keep searching for your love. I'm searching for, yeah. I'm searching for your love. I'm searching for your love. I'm searching for your love. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
One song. Oh, sorry. I know I was unmuted, Melinda. Um, snaps, snaps, snaps. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. In case you missed it, I dropped her lovely Venmo in the chat. Check it out. Thank you so much. So let me go ahead and introduce our next artist. I know them very well. Lester Ray is born and raised Chicago, Humboldt Park as shit. He is a Latin soul singer. He is a rapper, a poet, like you name it, he's done it. Super multi-talented, and he is incredibly passionate, especially about the Puerto Rican community, has been super involved in different political and artistic activism here in the neighborhood. So I'll turn it over to Lester.
Hey, how y'all doing? Hey, I'm unmuted. Hola, hola, mi gente. How y'all doing out there? I have 2 songs for y'all, right? 2 songs? Okay, dope. So I'm gonna start with something older, original. It's called Coqui. If you don't know what a coqui is, you're on your computers, you can probably Google that real quick. Y'all hear that? All right. Vamos. Mira, ya no existe uno, Capicú ya se acabó. Estaban todos outcasts, estamos en el año Andrés 3000. Pues eso es lo que dijeron que outlast, ¿qué significa eso? Como si le falta todo al mundo. Cada vez no es nada más que un sushi roll. Yeah, como si no le importaron el ritmo del tambor. Compa, ya tú sabes how that goes. Ya tú sabes eso. Lo único que queda en la isla del encanto. El coqui, coqui, yeah. El coqui, coqui. El coqui, yeah. El coqui, coqui. Hey, el coqui, el coqui, coqui. El coqui, yeah. Mucho ha cambiado, pero África está aquí. Mucho ha cambiado, pero África está aquí. Mucho ha cambiado. Los taínos están aquí. Mucho ha cambiado. Los taínos están mucho ha cambiado, empezando en Vieques, después de tantos experimentos. Allí ya no vive gente, pero los coquis tomando esa agua, respirando el aire, se pusieron vuelta, ahora defienden la isla entera. Entera la gente que se pone en contra. El coqui, coqui, yeah. El coqui, coqui. El coqui, yeah. El coqui, coqui. Hey, el coqui, coqui. cuando despierta la gente del mundo entero, que su isla ha sufrido suficiente veneno. El coquín quiere defenderse, tiene su interés de seguir cantando, de seguir bailando, de ser libre, de ser libre. We're gonna jump right into it. Vamos. Esta canción se llama Amigo, featuring Nino Agustín from Atlanta, Panamá, Puerto Rico. Yo necesito amigo que me diga cómo hacer lo mío. Yo necesito amigo que me diga cómo hacer lo mío. Ay, qué lío, métete en un río, ahora te crees mi Dios, no te necesito aquí. Ay, qué lío, métete en un río, ahora te crees mi Dios, no te necesito aquí. ¿Qué pasó con el se pagó la música? Hey. Is the music still on? Yo necesito amigo que me diga cómo hacer lo mío. Yo necesito amigo que me diga cómo hacer lo mío. Ay, qué lío, métete en un río, ahora te crees mi Dios, no te necesito aquí. Ay, qué lío, métete en un río, ahora te crees mi Dios, no te necesito aquí. Hey. Escucha. Mami, no hay necesidad de ir ahí. Cenizas tóxicas me traes a la vida. Esta amistad de plaza que cansa como soga al cuello que lanza. Ya basta. Mi alma me dijo, tú eres tu propio santuario. Y por eso te digo, tú eres tu propia paz. Tu propia paz. Un templo en el barrio, un templo en palacio. Oh, ya tú sabes, tú eres tu propio santuario. Los que están conmigo saben quiénes son. Y no Agustín, mi gente. La oscuridad. Con la bomba y plena. Vamos la S allá. Y ya sé que no quieren ver. Por eso no voy a perder. A su amigo lo que usted, ya yo sé que lo que yo necesito amigos. Yo necesito amigos que me digan cómo hacer lo mío. Ay, qué lío, métete en un río, ahora te crees mi Dios, no te necesito aquí. Ay, qué lío, métete en un río, ahora te crees mi Dios, no te necesito aquí. 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 Los que están conmigo. Tengo familia, no amigos. Los que están conmigo. Los que están conmigo. Están conmigo. Tengo familia, no amigos. Solito, mi santuario. Solito, mi santuario. Están conmigo. Tengo familia, no amigos. Muchísimas gracias, mi gente. Luster Ray, R-E-Y. Dale, Bernie. Vamos.
Yes, fucking Bernie Sanders, this is all for you. You don't even understand half the shit we're singing, but it's cool. All right, thank you so much to Joslyn and to Lester. I know times are really weird right now, but whenever we can find a time to be in community, definitely take it. And there's no better way to be in community than honestly with music, with singing, whatever it is that you want to participate in. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Vico. I totally feel that energy too right now. It was really beautiful to hear all that music. I was here dancing with other comrades, and we were just having a good time, and it just helped, us get by and forget a lot about things, but also just bask in the beauty of rebellion and having fun together. So that was really beautiful. Thanks to all of our musical artists, everyone. If you're at home, do some snaps. We're gonna snap together right now. Excellent. Cool. So I want to invite next one of our recently elected comrades down in the 25th Ward. Do we have, no, we don't have Byron at the moment. Let me see. And you know what? Actually, I have the amazing honor to introduce my dearest comrade, my compañero in the revolution. This is Comrade Alderman Carlos Rosa of the 35th Ward. Carlos.
Can you guys see me? Can you hear me? Hey, y'all. So this is going to be a race that we're going to have to, well, let me start over again. We should be really, really proud of all the work that we've done over the last several weeks, over the last several months, to get out the vote for Bernie Sanders, to get out the vote for progressive candidates up and down the ballot, because we know that this movement is so much bigger than Bernie Sanders. Right here in the 35th Ward, we should be so proud. It's a blowout for Bernie Sanders, which shows that people power makes the difference. When we go out there and we knock those doors and we talk to our neighbors, we can cut through the corporate media propaganda. We can cut through all of the BS that they've been telling us all along about Bernie Sanders. And people choose a progressive movement. They choose a progressive candidate. And that's what we need now more than ever. We need to come together and fight together. We need to stand together. We need to choose solidarity. We need to choose not me, but us. Because we face a crisis of our healthcare system, of our economy, a crisis that has been in the making for a very long time, because we have corporations, we have very rich people, we have oligarchs in this country that put their short-term greed and their profits ahead of every other concern. And what happens when you have that system? You find yourself in the crisis that we are right now, where we have a global pandemic that is killing people, that is killing older people, that is killing younger people, but we know by and large will kill working people. Working poor people that do not have the access to healthcare that they need and deserve. And in this crisis, we have seen the solution. And that solution is a movement where we stand together, where we choose unity, where we choose love, where we choose a government and an economy that works for all of us, not just a rich and powerful few. We know that only one candidate has been putting forth that message in this campaign, and that candidate is Bernie Sanders. And while the results don't look like what we wanted them to look like tonight in Illinois, he's doing amazingly well in areas where we went out and knocked doors and made our presence well, which shows that our efforts make a difference. But he is also now closing the gap with Joe Biden nationally. There was a poll that came out today that showed that Bernie Sanders was up 5 points and Joe Biden was down 5 points in that poll. So what that shows is that the tide is turning, and people are sick and tired of a rigged economy and a rigged system that puts the rich and powerful few ahead of the rest of us. How many of you remember the crisis of 2010? How many of you remember when our economy began to turn south with the housing bubble bursting in 2008? How many of you were radicalized in that moment? How many of your families were radicalized in that moment? How many of your families were radicalized because you saw Wall Street get bailed out while working families were left behind? Now is the time for all of us to come together and remember that our movement is going to continue to fight beyond March 17th tonight. That our movement is going to continue to fight over the weeks and months to come, because we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to ourselves to fight together, to stand together, to change this country, to save this planet, because quite frankly, this crisis that we're facing right now of coronavirus is going to pale in comparison to the crisis we are going to face if we do not take the drastic measures we need to take and win a Green New Deal and address climate change. So Bernie Sanders is the candidate of our movement. But let me make that clear. Bernie Sanders is the candidate of our movement. Our movement is bigger than Bernie. It's going to stick around much longer than Bernie Sanders. We're having some amazing victories right now in the 35th Ward with Bernie Sanders winning, with Kim Foxx winning. We're going to continue to have great victories moving forward. but it's only going to be made possible if we continue to fight together, if we continue to struggle together. So I'm so proud to be part of this movement with you. I need a haircut, but I haven't gotten a haircut because we're social distancing during the coronavirus. But I see that our comrade Byron Zipcher Lopez has gotten on board. So you all have heard me yak enough, but I just want to say I'm so proud to be in this movement with you. I want to say that I'm so proud of everything that we've accomplished, where we went out and knocked doors as the Chicago DSA, where we went and knocked doors as volunteers. We made a difference. We delivered results for Bernie Sanders. We helped create wins for the political revolution. And that's exactly what we're going to do over the next several days. So continue to social distance, but continue to organize, continue to talk to your family members, because we need them to understand that this crisis is rooted in the crisis of capitalism, of a system that's based on greed, and that the solution is solidarity, it's unionism, it's people coming together and fighting for our collective needs over their very limited corporate greed. So I'm going to turn it over to my comrade Byron. Si se puede, venceremos.
Do we have Byron? Comrade Byron, are you with us?
Yes, I can see you now. I can. Yes, I don't know if you can hear me. Are you? Yep. You all hear me? Yep. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, comrade. Sorry about that. We were muted ourselves. We can hear you just fine.
So okay. So you can hear me now. Hello.
Hey, we can hear you, Byron. We're just muting ourselves so we can hear you better. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. So yes. No. Well, thank you again. I just heard the last few minutes from Carlos. And obviously I think that I'm actually still in my precinct, in one of the precincts here in Pilsen, in the 25th ward, and I think well. I'm back. Hello?
Yep. Byron, we can hear you. It seems like we're having some technical difficulties right now. You have a good internet connection? See, comrades, this is why we need a Green New Deal, so that we can have high-speed internet everywhere, publicly available for free. So I just want to make that quick plug. But Comrade Byron, we can hear you if you're still there.
Yes. No. I'm still in one of the precincts in Pilsen. Bernie killed it over here, got over 70% of the vote in one of the precincts. We're finishing up with another precinct, but obviously in the midst of a horrific, crisis, health crisis that's gotten worse by an irresponsible president that obviously has not only continue to consolidate a corporate agenda that continues to fail working people, but single-handedly has dismantled the pandemic. The team that's supposed to be dealing with this kind of crisis. We have a capitalist system obviously that is continuing to profit from every failure of the market, but we are the ones who paying for the bills. We're paying the consequences of Wall Street and the pharmaceutical industries and all these industries who continue to pile up on the stock markets, as working people continue to see the consequences of these terrible crises in our community. So, and I'm sorry, I'm just seeing some of my comrades are getting out of their clothes right now. But I honestly see. We've gone so far. I think Carlos have said. I think here in the board, in the areas where we have built, we have comrades. We have 6 democratic socialists. I think that we have a strong movement. That the results continue to be consistent, across the board. In what we want to see, in policies that people want to actually see. I obviously we want to continue to be building not only locally but citywide, statewide, nationally. And I think that movement is going to continue to grow. What we see with Ocasio-Cortez and great other leaders who are taking on this battle. I think Bernie, with all the everything, the whole machine, the whole establishment against it, the corporate media against it, is putting up a great fight. We here on the ground, we see that people fight, as long as here in the precincts, we got some great results on the ground. It is just hard, with the crisis in the middle of this. It's been a challenging day, but a day that gives me hope. Just seeing people coming out strong in some of their precincts and really believing that we can make a difference. And I believe in our policy, the Medicare for all, and a lot of the policies that we think that we keep pushing are the future. That's the future that's gonna turn things around and really give us a new day for all of us.
That's absolutely right, Comrade Byron. It's good to hear from you. All the work that you thanks for all the work that you do, and we look forward to hearing some great results across the city. Especially, I want to make a quick plug to one of our compañeras, Nire Carranza, in the 3rd State Rep District. She is only down by a fraction of a percentile point. So we're looking at people like Letitia Collins as well. This is an amazing opportunity for us to continue building our political revolution. So talking about political revolution, I now want to turn it over to Anthony Clark, who is a DSA. Oh no, we don't have Anthony Clark just yet. Give me one moment. Let's see. Let me coordinate him. Alrighty. So since we don't have Anthony Clark with us just yet, I'm going to introduce our compañera Marianela, who is with our national DSA crew and a member of Chicago DSA as well. Marianela, you're with us?
Yep, I'm right here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, comrade.
Great. So, hey, everyone. Like Anthony said, I'm Marianela. I am on the National Political Committee of the Democratic Socialists of America, which is the largest socialist organization in almost 100 years in the United States. So right now, I really can't help but be pissed off. I went to the polls this morning and it was chaos. It was a total mess. And I have heard stories all day long of people who went to vote today and got turned away. Polling places where hundreds of people got turned away. And so I'm looking at these results tonight and I'm thinking to myself, is this really what democracy looks like when hundreds of people probably across the city got turned away and probably thousands of people across the country got turned away? So I think what that reveals to me and what our larger situation reveals to me is that our government is completely incapable of handling the crisis that we're in, right? They injected $1.5 trillion into Wall Street last week for what? A 15-minute bump. The metric for knowing whether we're dealing with a crisis is the Dow Jones and not the death toll. How is that acceptable to me? That is not acceptable to me. And at the same time, they've proven themselves completely incapable of running a legitimate election. And I think that is totally, totally unacceptable. And that is why we are fighting. At the same time, right now, our demands are more possible than ever. Things like Medicare for all, things like housing as a human right, things like a Green New Deal are becoming sort of the common sense solutions to this crisis that we find ourselves in. Really, the crisis has taken the mask off capitalism. And now it's very clear that the system that is set to run for the profits of a few and not for the well-being of the many just does not work and is actually incredibly, incredibly, incredibly fragile. So I want us to take that as an encouragement to continue to fight and to continue to organize with each other. So I want to encourage all of you who are watching this tonight to join any of the great and amazing organizations that made this event possible, right? We're like coordinating on the internet. It's not easy. The Sunrise Movement, the United Working Families, any local organizations, local IPOs, please join these organizations that are fighting for a better world. And please join DSA to fight for a movement, to fight for a world within a movement that works, that works for the many and not for the few.
Thank you, comrade, for your reflection. Spot on. I completely agree, and it's going to be an amazing opportunity for us to seize, and I'm ready to seize it with everyone. Unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, we won't be able to live stream the results. And unfortunately, our comrade Anthony Clark is not able to join us at the moment as well. But remember that while we are in social isolation, we have to make sure that we are now in socialist isolation with one another, that we are continuing to build class consciousness, that we are building solidarity while people are feeling more afraid now more than ever. I wrote a little piece just last night. I was so frustrated. I felt so emotional. I finally needed to let it out. So if comrades want to hear about what I'm thinking right now, I think right now is the time for us to fight. This is the time for us to strike the iron while it's hot. And this is the time to create that international movement of people that we need to save our planet and to save ourselves, quite frankly, because of failed leadership, failed political leadership, failed economic leadership. Capitalism is not doing the things that it promises us, right? It's completely failed at this moment, and so has its puppet government. So right now is the time for us to overthrow the ruling class and to build class solidarity with everyone. Keep in touch. We will keep doing more things like this, hopefully. Keep an eye on the results. There's a lot of results for a lot of different races up and down the ballot. Hopefully our comrade Kim Fox is winning as well. And other than that, I do want to take the time to thank Ben Richardson for his help with our tech and speakers. And I want to thank everyone for joining us. Okay? Take care, comrades. Solidarity.